The hum of the server rack in my apartment was usually a comforting lullaby, a constant reminder of the digital world I inhabited. But tonight, it felt like a low, insistent thrum against my skull, a prelude to something unsettling. My name is Hunter Blaine. By day, I'm just Hunter, an IT support drone at Innovatech Solutions in downtown Austin, Texas. I troubleshoot printer errors, reset forgotten passwords, and patiently explain why turning it off and on usually fixes things. It's a mundane existence, a beige cubicle life filled with polite smiles and suppressed yawns. But when the Austin sun dips below the horizon, and the city lights begin to glitter like scattered code, Hunter Blaine vanishes. And Ghost emerges. Ghost, I'm a professional hacker, a digital phantom. My life is lines of code, cracking systems, finding vulnerabilities where others see only impenetrable walls. I thrive on the challenge, the intellectual chess game of bypassing firewalls and decrypting data. I believe in logic, in algorithms, in the predictable elegance of systems. Anything I can't logically explain, I dismiss as noise, an anomaly to be filtered out. My apartment, a minimalist haven in South Austin, reflects this, sleek, organized, bathed in the cool glow of multiple monitors. It's my sanctuary, my cockpit, my entire world. Or so I thought. For weeks, I've been obsessed with a legend whispered in the darkest corners of the deep web, the Void server. It was rumored to be an ultra-secure, supposedly defunct server, a digital ghost from a shadowy, long-gone tech conglomerate known as Chronocorp. The official story was that Chronocorp had collapsed after its visionary CEO, Dr. Elias Vance, vanished without a trace years ago, presumed dead. But the whispers said the server remained, an unhackable void, a digital black hole that no one had ever successfully breached. It was the ultimate challenge, a digital Everest, purely for the intellectual thrill. I needed to conquer it. Them why days blurred into nights. I poured every ounce of my skill, every trick, every zero-day exploit I knew, into cracking the Void server. Its defenses were unlike anything I'd ever encountered, almost sentient, adaptive, shifting like smoke, learning from my every probe. It was frustrating, exhilarating, pushing me to the absolute brink of my abilities. I neglected sleep, surviving on lukewarm coffee and stale pizza. My apartment, usually pristine, became a battlefield of discarded energy drink cans and crumpled code printouts. Alex, my colleague at Innovatech, called me once. "Hey, Blaine, you alive? You look like you wrestled a ghost. Everything all right?" I mumbled something about a late project, already itching to get back to the glowing screens. Alex, a good-natured guy who mostly talked about fantasy football, just chuckled. "All right, man. Don't burn out." But I was already burning, consumed by the challenge. The breakthrough came on a particularly stormy Tuesday night, the rain lashing against my window, mirroring the frantic pace of my keystrokes. It was around 2 a.m. After weeks of relentless effort, I found it, a minuscule, almost invisible vulnerability, a single, elegant flaw in what I'd thought was an impenetrable fortress. It was a backdoor, so perfectly hidden it felt like a digital whisper. I exploited it, a rush of pure adrenaline surging through me as I bypassed layers of encryption and firewalls, deeper than I'd ever been. I expected to see old data, forgotten files, perhaps a digital trophy of my conquest. Instead, my main monitor flickered. The terminal window didn't display a file directory or a login prompt. It filled with what looked like distorted video feedback, but it wasn't random static. It was a reflection. A reflection of my own room. My breath hitched. The image on the screen was my apartment, but subtly, horrifyingly wrong. My desk chair, usually perfectly aligned, was slightly askew, facing the wrong way, as if someone had just left it. A copy of Neuromancer on my bookshelf was upside down, its spine a jarring anomaly. The painting I'd bought from a local artist, usually hanging straight, was crooked, almost imperceptibly so. But it was the shadows that truly unnerved me. They were too deep, too long, twisting into impossible shapes that didn't match the dim light from my desk lamp. They seemed to writhe, to pulse with a life of their own. And then, I saw it, faint, almost imperceptible figures seemed to move in the periphery of the reflection, just at the edge of the frame, elongated, distorted blurs. And from my speakers, a faint, almost subliminal whisper emanated, a sound that wasn't data, wasn't feedback, but something else entirely, a chilling, unintelligible murmur that seemed to crawl under my skin. What the hell is this? My logical mind screamed, virus, sophisticated trap, psychological attack. I immediately tried to disconnect, to shut down the connection, to run diagnostics. My fingers flew across the keyboard, but the image persisted for a few terrifying seconds, the whispers growing louder, more insistent, before the screen finally went black. I slammed my fist on the desk. I ran every scan imaginable, every anti-malware protocol, every network diagnostic. Nothing. No malware, no lingering connection, no trace of the server. I tried to re-access it, it was gone, vanished entirely from the network, as if it had never existed. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum against the sudden, profound silence of my apartment. It was just a trick, I told myself, a very advanced, very disturbing hack. But the cold dread lingered. The next day, the anomalies began in my physical world. Subtle at first, almost unnoticeable. I was making coffee, around 7:30 a.m., still shaken from the night before. I poured a cup, set it down on my desk. I blinked, and for a fraction of a second, the coffee cup flickered, momentarily appearing a few inches to the left, almost pixelated, before snapping back to its original spot. I stared at it, then at my hand. Sleep deprivation, I decided. Definitely sleep deprivation. Later that morning, at my desk at Innovatech, around 9:45 a.m., I was scrolling through my phone during a break. The text on my screen momentarily distorted, characters twisting into unreadable, alien symbols, like a corrupted font, before snapping back to normal. I shook my head, convinced my phone was finally giving up the ghost. That evening, back in my apartment, around 8 p.m., the light bulb in my living room flickered erratically, not like a faulty bulb, but like a digital error, a frame rate drop in reality. And out of the corner of my eye, I started seeing them, impossible shadows. Shadows that moved independently of light sources, shadows that seemed to writhe, to stretch into unnatural shapes, vanishing the moment I turned my head directly towards them. The whispers I heard from the server started to manifest in my apartment. I heard them in the static of my speakers when the music paused, in the low hum of my refrigerator, in the profound silence of the night. They were unintelligible, like a dozen voices speaking at once, but carried a chilling, insistent quality, a desperate urgency. I felt a growing sense of being watched, even when alone, a pervasive chill that had nothing to do with the thermostat. My meticulous routine broke down. I became paranoid, constantly checking my surroundings, convinced I was being targeted, or that my mind was breaking. I isolated myself, unable to explain what was happening to anyone. My logical mind struggled to cope with phenomena that defied all my understanding. I tried to find the server again, desperately, but it remained elusive, a ghost in the machine. The glitches became more frequent, more intense, bleeding into my waking life with terrifying clarity. Objects didn't just flicker, they momentarily showed fragments of that other room, the wrong chair, the crooked painting, the impossibly deep shadows. My own reflection in the bathroom mirror, one morning around 6 a.m., seemed to waver, showing a gaunt, distorted version of my face for a split second, eyes too wide, mouth slightly agape. Then came the déjà vu, but not the usual kind. It was too specific, too real. I'd be walking down Congress Avenue, around 1 p.m., and suddenly feel a profound sense of having lived that exact moment before, down to the precise angle of the sunlight hitting the state capitol building, the specific sound of a street musician's guitar. And then, a few hours later, I'd see it happen again, exactly as I'd remembered it, a chilling echo. The glimpses of the future began. One morning, around 7 a.m., I woke up from a restless sleep. A fragmented image burned into my mind, a blurred news headline about a massive power outage in a specific part of East Austin. I dismissed it as a dream. But that evening, around 6 p.m., a news alert flashed across my phone: massive power outage hits East Austin. My blood ran cold. It wasn't a dream. It was a premonition. The glitches weren't just random, they were showing me things. The whispers coalesced into something more coherent, though still alien, seeming to call my name, or a distorted version of it, a guttural, wet sound that vibrated in my teeth. They were trying to tell me something. My personal digital footprint became corrupted. My files on my hard drive would occasionally show strange, unreadable characters, a digital static. My online accounts would momentarily display bizarre, nonsensical messages, like a broken cipher. It was as if the glitch was spreading, not just in my physical space, but through my digital identity, infecting everything I touched. My dreams became a terrifying nightly descent. I saw fragmented visions of the other dimension, a swirling vortex of impossible colors, elongated figures moving with jerky, unnatural grace, their faces obscured by shadow, their limbs too long, too thin. I would wake up in a cold sweat, the whispers still echoing in my ears, the images burned behind my eyelids. Sleep offered no escape, only a deeper dive into the madness that I was losing it. My logical mind, my fortress, was crumbling. I spent every waking hour, neglecting my day job entirely, frantically searching for any lore, any obscure theories, any forgotten projects that might explain what I'd done. I delved into quantum mechanics, theoretical physics, even ancient occult texts, desperate for a framework to understand this impossible reality. I found fragmented references to dimensional rifts, echo chambers, or a veil thinning in the most unlikely places, old, forgotten scientific papers, encrypted government documents I'd never bothered with before, even obscure folklore from remote cultures. My hacker's instinct, the one that thrived on patterns and vulnerabilities, started to treat the glitches as a new kind of code, a puzzle to be solved. I logged every flicker, every distorted word, every impossible shadow, and then, a pattern emerged. The glitches weren't random. They were messages. Distorted, fragmented, but intentional. The future glimpses, the déjà vu, the subtle shifts in my room, they were all part of a larger, terrifying communication. The whispers, when I focused, seemed to form distorted sequences, almost like binary code. I began to piece together who was sending them: the defunct server leader, Dr. Elias Vance. He wasn't dead. He had crossed over. He was guiding me, showing me how to stabilize the reality tear I had inadvertently created. The messages were cryptic, requiring all my hacking acumen to decipher. They spoke of frequency alignment, phase inversion, entropic decay. It was like debugging reality itself. I followed his instructions, manipulating specific frequencies through my custom-built network hardware, rerouting energy through my apartment's wiring in precise sequences, even physically altering things in my room, moving the crooked painting to a specific angle, placing certain objects in specific spots, following Vance's silent, digital breadcrumbs. It was like a terrifying, high-stakes scavenger hunt orchestrated by a ghost. Slowly, painstakingly, the glitches began to recede. The flickering lessened. The impossible shadows retreated to the corners of my vision, then vanished. Reality solidified, the world around me no longer a broken video feed. I felt a profound sense of exhaustion, as if I had wrestled with the fabric of existence itself, but also a dizzying triumph. I had done it. I had patched reality. Life returned to a new normal. I was back at my day job, troubleshooting printers, but my perspective was irrevocably altered. The world no longer felt solid, predictable. I saw the fragile veneer of reality, the thinness of the veil. I still saw lingering flickers, faint echoes of shadows, especially in moments of stress or low light, a permanent scar on my perception. I was haunted, but also empowered. Then, one quiet Tuesday morning, around 9 a.m., a new message appeared on my main monitor. Not a glitch, not a whisper, but a clear, direct text file, unhackable, untraceable, appearing as if from nowhere. Hunter Blaine. The tear is stable. The time is right. Meet me at the old Chronocorp research facility, abandoned sector Gamma 7. Midnight. Alone. My heart pounded. Elias Vance. He was calling me. The old Chronocorp research facility was a sprawling, derelict complex on the outskirts of Austin, swallowed by overgrown weeds and urban legend. I arrived at midnight, the moon a sliver in the sky, casting long, eerie shadows. The air was thick with the scent of damp concrete and decay. I found Sector Gamma 7, a rusted, unmarked door leading into the bowels of the building. My flashlight beam cut through the oppressive darkness, illuminating dust-laden equipment and forgotten experiments, and then I saw him. He was standing in the center of a vast, circular chamber, surrounded by what looked like a deactivated, massive holographic projector. He was older than I expected, gaunt, his eyes holding the same ancient weariness I'd seen in Whispers. Dr. Elias Vance. The supposed ghost. Hunter Blaine, his voice was soft, raspy, but held an undeniable authority. Or do you prefer ghost? My breath caught. How did you know? He smiled, a thin, tired smile. I've been watching you. Guiding you. You patched my work, Hunter. You closed the door I opened, the one I couldn't close from the other side. He gestured around the room. This was my life's work. To find the true nature of reality. I found it. I stepped through. The government thought I was dead, vanished into thin air. They shut down Chronocorp, buried the project. His eyes, though weary, burned with an almost feverish intensity. But the other dimension, it showed me things, Hunter. Not just impossible physics, but the impossible corruption of this world. The lies, the hidden systems, the vulnerabilities in our society that are far more insidious than any line of code. He stepped closer, his shadow falling across the dusty floor, solid and real. I've spent years on the other side, observing, learning. I've found a way to use this technology, not to cross over, but to expose. To project truth, to reveal the hidden strings, the corrupt politicians, the conglomerates that manipulate our present. I need a partner, Hunter. Someone who understands systems, who isn't afraid to dive deep. Someone who has seen the fragility of reality and knows how to fix it. He extended a hand, not a physical one, but a gesture towards the dormant machinery. Join me, Hunter. Help me uncorrupt the present. Help me expose the truth. My mind reeled. The allure of power, the moral ambiguity of such a mission, the sheer, terrifying danger. It was everything I'd ever craved, and everything I'd ever feared. I looked at Vance, then back at the dark, silent machinery, imagining the other side. I need time to think, I finally managed, my voice hoarse that he nodded, his ancient eyes understanding. Of course. The choice is yours. But the world needs fixing, Hunter. And you, of all people, now know how broken it truly is. I turned, leaving the chamber, the silence of the abandoned facility pressing in on me. The moon was higher now, casting a pale glow over the overgrown complex. I walked out into the night, the weight of his offer heavy on my shoulders. The city lights of Austin twinkled in the distance, a million lines of code, a million systems. Some broken, some corrupt. Should I accept his offer? If you are reading this, help me decide. Give your opinion in the comments section.